So here we have the question related to this module. Now here we need to make a rectangle with length 10 unit and width of 5 unit. Now make a circle with radius 1.6 unit and make it at the center of the rectangle. Now add constraints to this geometry in such a way that the width of rectangle always remains half of the length of rectangle, and also the constraint should be applied to keep the circle at the geometric center of the complete rectangle. In this case, assume that the lower left corner of the rectangle is fixed. So here we have the blank drawing. Let's start by adding the rectangle. So I'll go to draw panel, expand the flyout, select rectangle, click at a point. Now type at 10, 5 and press enter. Now we need to add the circle at the geometric center. So go to circle and now go to this point, but don't click and drag it here. Also you can go to this point, then drag it and click on the geometric center. Although in this case I directly have the geometric center snap, but if you don't have that, you can use this object snap tracking option. Now enter a radius of 1.6 unit and press enter. So there we have it. The geometry is now prepared. Now let's start by adding the constraints, and for that I'll go to this parametric tab. Now here we have the linear, constraint and align. So I'll select this linear. Now click close to this endpoint and then click close to this endpoint and apply the constraint. So there we have it, the 10 unit length. Now go to linear again, click close to this endpoint, click close to this endpoint and apply it here. Okay, so we have applied the linear constraints, but we need to ensure that this rectangle remains like a rectangle, and for that we need to add parallel constraints also. So I'll go to geometric and I'll select this parallel constraint. Now select these two lines and there we have it. Now repeat the process for the vertical lines. So I'll select these two and there we have it. Now we need to add one more constraint to constrain this circle at the center, and for that I'll select the linear again. I'll click on this circle and that will select the center. Now click on this point, but in this case make sure that this center point is highlighted, and there we have it. So right now all of these constraints are added, but still they are not dependent on each other. So in order to make the dependency as per our question, we need to add formulas. So the first requirement was the width, and the width should always remain half of length. So in this case you can see that the length is d1 parameter, so the d2 parameter should be half of that. So I'll double click on this and I'll change this value from 5 to d1 by 2 and press enter. So apparently it will not make any change in the geometry, but now if you change the length here, it will automatically change the width. Similarly, in this case, you need to ensure that this d3 value remains always half of this d1 value. Or you can also say that this value, this d3 value should also remain equal to d2 value. So I'll simply double click here and I'll change this value to d2. Okay, so there we have it. Now we have these three parameters defined. We only have one parameter, which is the fix parameter that should be defined for this point. So I'll go to this fix geometric constraint, click on this point. Now we have it defined as per our question. Now let's check it. So I'll double click on this and I'll change its length to 16 and press enter, and there we have it. Now in this case, the length changed the width, and the width changed the distance between the center of the circle and one of its vertical lines. And all the constraints are properly maintained.